Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience Podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions.
And plenty of upside. And as far as what I learned most, I think that, I don't manage any of my own properties anymore. But being a small landlord and having to manage your own properties, there's so many wrong ways to run that kind of a business. And I made it literally, maybe there's more, but I felt like I made all the mistakes that one could make. And it gave me a really good foundation on learning how to hire good managers.
Yeah.
And because if you don't know the right things to ask, you don't know the right things to say, invariably it comes down to like price, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, what are you going to give me, or what do I need to give you to take care of this problem for me? And that's the wrong approach.
Yeah.
At least for the lifestyle that I want, which is, I want good tenants. I want them to take care of my property. I want to have no headaches. And really all that comes back to is really, really strong tenants, vetting before they even get the property. And if there's one thing that anyone takes from this, it would be that is that that's the most important thing. If you're, I know you're kind of brokerage centric, but man, if you've got an investment property, make sure you're putting the right people in there. Otherwise you're going to get hurt and bad.
No, I agree. And that's sage advice. So the fourplex that you bought, was it a fixer? Did you end up coming in and fixing it up?
A little bit, but no, it was already occupied. There were problems, but I just went in and I kind of fixed it here, fixed it there, cleaned up. It was, full of junk. So yeah, no, I didn't do any giant renovations. It was just, it was little things.
So talk about the fiveplex for a second. You find out about this fiveplex. You have an opportunity to buy it. Number one, what made you buy it? Number two, what's the number one thing you learned?
So I was, it was funny. It was like, I wasn't planning on buying it. I was like, I already bought this other place, and I was like, okay, well, that's good. I was starting. This is awesome.
Mhm.
But when it came down to it, first, I initially had it under contract for more. And it was a really cool building. It was Mineral Point. If you're not, most people aren't familiar, but it's one of the oldest cities in Wisconsin. And so I think this building was built, this Victorian, the fiveplex, was built in like 1901, and the stone building was much before that. This thing was a giant monstrosity. It was probably like 4,000 square feet, all wood, peeling paint, lead paint, water in the basements, just very mismanaged. The guy who sold it to me, and I don't know how true this is, but apparently he owned it with a partner who was in jail. The person who he owned it with had just gotten out of jail, and so they needed to monetize this thing really quickly so his partner could get paid out and they could kind of go their separate ways.
Right.
And there was rumors of drugs and all, whatever. So that was kind of why I was on a fire sale. That building just ended up eating so much of my time. I basically one by one went through and renovated each of the apartments as they became, it was occupied when I got it, but as people left, I just go in and plow a bunch of time and money into each of the units. And I think, again, it's just like that. It comes back to having good tenants makes such a big difference. So after I'm done with, for me in this scenario, they're really nice, pleasant apartments. And, a couple times I place people, and within 6 months it's trashed and I have to go do it again. So when you experience pain, you end up learning lessons faster, and they're a lot easier to remember. And so again, I'm grateful that I had to go through that. As far as what I learned, I don't think much new, other than having good agent and brokerage connections. Like it's vital. It's really important. And you're that old saying, your network is your net worth. I think that, this is a great example of that. The guy knew me, liked how I transacted the other one, brought it to me, and no one else got to see it, and I just happened to be there. And yeah, there was pain associated with it, but I mean, I cleared over $100K on that property.
That's cool.
After my investments. And so, yeah, it ended up working out great.
Awesome. Good job. So you decide to sell the fourplex and the fiveplex, and you decide to buy USA Lead List, right?
Yep.
So talk a little bit about that process. So you were looking at different companies, you were vetting them, right? And this is post-COVID, right? So this is after the shutdown?
This is during the shutdown.
Oh, during the shutdown. Okay.
This is basically how I occupied myself while while I was cooped up.
Gotcha. Okay. So you're approaching these businesses and you're asking them if they're looking to sell.
No. So I wasn't asking them. So there's a business broker website called Biz Buy Sell.
Okay.
And so I was on there. And I maybe would have got a better deal had I just gone directly to businesses and done what you had mentioned. Yeah. Hindsight's always 20/20.
Sure.
So I was on Biz Buy Sell, and I was just going through, literally anything. I didn't actually have any business that I cared about. I was just like, well, there's an opportunity here. I want to see what comes up, and I had plenty of time, like everyone else did at that point. And I looked at plastic recycling companies. I looked at, marketing companies. I looked at construction companies. I literally just the whole gamut. I didn't look at any restaurants, to be honest. I drew the line there.
Yeah, there's a line where the food service thing, right?
And so, yeah, I mean, honestly, I probably looked at the financials and read, basically they kind of put together a memorandum of what the company is, and gives you pretty high level talking points around what they do, how they do it, who their customers are, how, you can, they're out there trying to sell this thing, right? And they get paid handsomely to do so. So mostly all they focus on are the really, the high points of it. How you can make more money, how you can add revenue, yada, yada, yada. And so yeah, this one, they were located out in San Diego, and it was two guys who ran it, and we basically did everything via Zoom. Like I'd never met the guys, I'd never seen the business, its physical location, until after the closing. And so I mean, I can go kind of deep into the business side of things. I don't know what specifically, what part do you want to hear about more? Like I can.
Well, it's up to you. So this is all about you, right? Okay. And it's also about our listeners. So one of the things that we do is we basically ask about the things that you learned in the process, right? Kind of like what we talked about with the fourplex and the fiveplex.
Yeah.
The idea behind it is, if it's possible, we want our listeners to learn from your mistakes instead of having to go out and make their own, right? Okay. And so there are certain things buying a business that you learn, and there are lessons that, like, I don't know if you know who Roland Frazier is, but Roland is a good friend, and taught a seminar with a company called Epic Network. And I had an opportunity to read his book, and also had an opportunity to attend the seminar for 2 days. And it blew my mind. They have learned so much from buying and selling companies, and they've literally bought and sold hundreds of them now, right? It was interesting to me to learn from them what they learned, what their particular challenges were and that kind of thing. And I used to own a real estate office. It was one of the largest in North America, and I owned it for 18 years. And so I was looking at it from the hat of I used to own one, right, that kind of thing. And so it was an interesting experience, and it was a lot of fun to learn from them some of the things that you want to watch out for. Is your company's office still here in San Diego?
Nope, no. We're virtual now. My
Okay.
office is local. I'm in Madison, Wisconsin.
Okay.
The
Gotcha.
metro. Actually, to be fair though, we do still have we have a fulfillment branch, and so they do printing out of a small office in El Cajon, actually.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm in Oceanside.
Oh, got it. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Full disclosure, right? So
Okay.
yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So, thank you for explaining a little further about that. So, as far as what I learned, key lessons to take away.
Yeah.
Underwriting a real estate deal is one thing. Underwriting a business acquisition, I was pretty quick to realize that I was in way over my head. So, and again, just like, if there's in my own work experience, if there's a will, there's a way, and I really wanted this carrot, right? Like this would be a big leap in what my financial future looked like. This would be a big difference in just the ability that I was able to connect with people and really exploit some of my great gifts that I have.
Yeah.
And so I worked hard at it. I mean, honestly, getting approved for an SBA loan, making sure that, and I'll say this, biz buy sell, like you go on that website and there's some really, really bad businesses for sale, and they just put lipstick on a pig and say it's great. And fortunately, I could have had exposure there, but I didn't with this business. It ended up being a really solid buy, and it's been really fun. But in hindsight and in vetting for other businesses that I'm just looking to add to my portfolio now, there's a lot of pitfalls that I dodged that I would not have known otherwise until I was on the other side of the transaction.
Gotcha.
And so, a lot of that's hidden in the numbers. A lot of that's hidden in, how much a company's spending on marketing. There's a lot of new kind of minutia in there. And, if anyone, if I could go back to myself when I was kind of going through this, what I would do is I would find some mentor who's already done it a few times. I would find someone who's been through it, knows the ropes, knows what to look for, and can say like, hey man, like this looks shady. Maybe you'll be able to get financing for this, but I think that, this is going to be a problem in the end for you. Because, there's nothing worse than buyer's remorse on an SBA loan that you have a universal guarantee on. And so literally every single asset, everything that you own is tied up by that loan. And so, I hope someone, if they wanted to go down the business purchasing road, that they would at least consider that. And two, I'm fiercely individualistic, and I usually don't, I don't recommend outside consultants. I don't usually seek it out, but I wish that I would have at that circumstance at that point in time.
How would that have helped you?
It would have helped me find better businesses faster.
Okay.
And two, business is not like, like in the world of business, I want predictability. I want things that I know they're I can grasp them. I understand them. I get 100 leads, 10 leads convert, that leads to this much money, right? And the problem is that, not everyone has that concept around business. You know, they let's say someone spends $200,000 on marketing. It shows this giant rise in in income, but it's completely unsustainable as far as a predictable path of income goes.
Right.
And I just didn't have a sense of that. So, for me to have someone else look in and I guess and say like, hey, this looks weird here. You might want to at least ask questions about that.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I got lucky is what I feel like. And luck and business, that they should collide every once in a while, but it shouldn't be an underlying plan.
Yeah. It's not a plan. It's not a strategy, right?
No, it's not. No, absolutely.
But it's cool when it happens,
Absolutely, yeah, you take it and run when it happens.
Yeah. And the harder you work, the luckier you get, right?
That's right. That's right.
So USA Lead. So a quick question for you. So have you had a chance to read The Great Divide?
I have not.
Okay, so it was written by Alan Nevin. Alan is a good friend of mine. I literally was just talking to him yesterday. We've interviewed him 3 times for this podcast. And he wrote another book that was just released last October called The Next Half Century, and it talks about basically what the world's going to look like in the next 50 years. Highly recommend it. The reason why I asked you about the Great Divide is there's an estimated $98 trillion of wealth being passed from baby boomers to their millennial kids and grandkids, right?
Yep.
And a lot of it's through inheritance, a lot of it's through transfer of wealth, that kind of thing. And a lot of it's real estate, like 90% of it's real estate. So millennials don't really want the real estate. They just want to liquidate it and move on. They want whatever cash they can get and as little, challenge, if you will, or complication as possible. That's where the investor thing comes in. And that's why owning a company like you own is so unbelievably brilliant, especially at this time, because we're literally right in the middle of this.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
We're just transitioning into that.
Yeah. So it's amazing, man. I mean, it's your timing, I don't think could be better. So it's very cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. A little correction. It's US lead list. Right?
Oh, so I apologize. Yeah. usleadlist.com.
I recognize the name, but yeah, and I recognize the name of the book, The Great Divide, but I have not read it. So I will check that out.
Yeah. So it's available on Amazon. It was actually published in 1997, believe it or not, but it's unbelievable how true it is today in terms of what it is that he talks about. Alan is one of the top economists in the nation. And like I said, a very good friend of mine. And his other book, The Next Half Century, was just nominated for an award with the Independent Publishers Association, the nationwide association. And so he sent me an email just letting me know, and so I called him to congratulate him and tell him how proud I am of him. He's truly one of the good guys in this world. So pretty cool. So if somebody's a real estate investor or wants to be a real estate investor and they are curious about usleadslist.com, how talk about how it works. So they go on your website, go from there, take it from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, basically you go to our domain, usleadlist.com, and, click on your areas that you have interest. So, we have an upper cap on how much we sell our data. And, that a lot of people roll their eyes like, whatever. Like, basically, I'm at an interesting position. Like, I see all my competitors' data, and because their customers are coming to us because they want to compare.
Right.
And we're at 60% more data than any other company that I've ever seen. And so back to that, we only sell our data 3 times, and that's relevant because we want it, the marketing to be meaningful for each of those people in those markets.
Right.
So you click on get quotes, and it takes you to a map of the US, and basically you choose your areas in which you're interested, and fill in your information, and we email you and reach out, and kind of have it's basically a call, a sales call on Zoom with our team, and just talk to you, ask questions around what your business is like, what you're looking for, and see if it's a good fit. We don't push you. We don't want customers that don't want to be customers. So like, it's low pressure. Our company's doing fine. We don't need more people, but we want to work with the right people because there's a really great opportunity.
Gotcha. So your clients are investors.
And
Share.
it's a
Go ahead.
mixture. Yeah, it's a mixture. They're investors, and or they're agents. And
Okay.
and oftentimes the most successful ones are kind of right in the middle of that. They're both.
Okay. Okay. So an agent / investor,
Yep.
your best clients, what's the one thing that you've learned about what they do to succeed?
They're good marketers. They're tenacious. They don't stop. And I think one of the better ways to explain what they're good at is by explaining what the worst clients do. It's like they buy our list, they spend good money on it, and they try one little tiny thing, and they're like, nah, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But then, on the flip side, the clients that we've had for, almost 2 decades, like several of our original clients we still have, and they won't give up the list because they never stop marketing to it. They're smart. They intentionally plan they remove people out of the mailing sequence if they ask to be out, and they just keep on remailing it. They keep on doing deals, and they keep on making more money, and it just keeps on compounding over time. And so, yeah, I mean, it's funny, right? We're a marketing company that ultimately sells to marketers, and that's the purpose of it. So, yeah, I would say that they're just intelligent in how they reach out to the people on the list. Direct mail works the best is what we've found. And you can't touch a lead too many times. And usually the further down the road you go, 5, 10, 12 touches, the more money you get back out of that list, the more money you get of your marketing.
Gotcha. Do you have vendors that you recommend for that direct mail?
Yep. Yeah, I do. We have a mail house, and it's tiny, literally. I don't mean that by any exaggeration. It's like an office where we're doing basically everything by hand. I have some really good folks who are, using basically, XY plotters to handwrite postcards. The direct mail marketing piece, a lot, and I mentioned this earlier when I was talking about, kind of, if you don't know the right questions to ask, you end up going by the things that are very tangible, and that's usually
right.
Direct mail, when you are marketing and you go with the cheapest vendors, is like throwing money in the fire.
Mm-hmm.
Cheap direct mail, it's like it's a evidence that of your business, what you do, who you are. And for me, like I basically just recommend anything that's unusual. It feels like a human did it. It's, maybe it's 3D, you put a dice in there, and it just grabs people's attention. But everyone in this world knows what junk mail is. And there's one place for junk mail, and that's the trash.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter what kind of direct mail you're doing, don't send junk mail, and you'll do better than everyone else.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Any last things you'd like to cover before we wrap up?
No, I think more than anything, I just genuinely enjoyed this. I really appreciated this interview. I do a good amount of podcasts, and this was by far the most fun I've had on a podcast. So thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it.
Well, it was very sweet of you to say that. We take great pride in not being like anybody else. And I've been doing this a while, obviously, right? The podcast we've only been doing just a little over 10 months now. But we just last night surpassed 400,000 listens. We're in 44 countries worldwide. So super excited about, the future and where we're headed. And I really do appreciate you saying that. We have had people tell us that before, but it never gets old. You know what I mean? It's like, keep bringing it, So, well, Micah, thank you so much for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience. I've enjoyed every second of this.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Have a great
Appreciate
day.
you. Thanks, buddy. We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out calendly.com/Rio760.